If you want to know our thoughts and review of the Growing Up with God unit from Gather Round, be sure to watch today's video. As I mentioned, we have finished the Growing Up with God unit from Gather Round. This unit is exactly what it says, growing up with God. So we are talking some of those initial conversations. We did get the level 1, and this is the girls' notebook. It does come in both a girls and boys option with 3 varying levels. So we did level 1 girls notebook. As I always do, I have included my daughter's thoughts on the unit study. So I'm going to start there, and then I will wrap it up with my thoughts and my review. To give you just a little bit of background in case you are new to my channel, my daughter is fairly new 8-year-old, and we have been doing Gather Round for quite some time, but we actually took a lot of this year off of unit studies. We kind of switched it up this year. And so this unit is actually the first Gather Round unit study we have been able to get in this year. And that's one of the things that my daughter really, really loved and wanted to make sure I mentioned, is that she was so excited to finally have a Gather Round unit study back into our school. And so that's something I'm keeping in mind for a few things moving forward, but she really loved the unit study as a whole, and just, we love Gather Round. It is like our safe place because that's where we started, and there's just something so special about them. We just really love them. Another big thing for her were the conversation starters. So in the notebook here, and also in the teacher's companion, it's like a little bubbled area that is listed as conversation starters. And that's exactly what it is. It is a presentation of a question, or just kind of something to get a conversation going between the child and the parent. And she really loved that. She really loved kind of getting some information from mom, or maybe hearing different stories and things from me, just kind of depending on what the topic was for that day. And the last thing that she told me that she really, really liked was that we actually did the student book together. And I will talk about that a little bit later, but I did want to mention that is something she told me that she really enjoyed. Now, for the things that she didn't necessarily like with this unit, she said nothing. There was not one thing she could come up with that she didn't necessarily like. And that also led to a 5 out of 5 rating. So I think it speaks for itself to say that she really, really enjoyed this unit study. Now, as for myself, I agree that I am very excited to have Gather Round back. Again, there's just something special about it. Like I said, it's like our safe space. It's where we started with homeschooling, and it just feels so great to have them back and go through another unit. This actually was a really great option because it's very small. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It is like a mini unit study, okay? So it's very, very short and sweet. It's very simple. But what I really loved was it still had a lot of information, but it was presented very tastefully. So I felt that it was extremely age appropriate, and it gave enough information that we're learning new things and all of this information is new to us, but it wasn't so much that I felt like there were things that I needed to maybe skip over or take out, which is why I waited another year. So I actually purchased this last year and was going to do it right around the seven-year-old mark. And then after reviewing it with my husband, we decided we actually felt more comfortable if we waited one more year and then we would just go through the entire thing. And I'm really, really glad that we did that because we didn't skip over anything. We went through all of it and it was done extremely well. However, what I will say is we did the student book together. So her and I sat down and we read I read everything to her aloud. We stopped and talked about things. We looked at pictures. We asked questions. We went through the conversation starters, the pages in here that are designed for her to fill out. Sometimes she would fill it out. Sometimes I would fill it out. Sometimes we would trade back and forth, but we really worked through this together. And that, I feel like, is really what made the difference for us. It allowed for it to just be a very normal, natural thing. We're just sitting down, we're going through, we're talking about things. And it allowed for conversation to naturally happen. And for questions that naturally came up, I was right there to be able to answer them. I didn't love the idea of my daughter going through it alone by herself, which is how it's designed. So it's designed that each student would get their own book, and then you have the teacher's companion that you kind of go through and can do a quick overview to see what your students are learning inside of each of the books, and then you can come to them later and review them. That's obviously, you can do it either way, but again, for our particular situation, I wanted to be there and really walking through a lot of these things, because for us, a lot of these conversations were new conversations, and they were things that we have not previously discussed in depth like it is in this study. So I wanted to make sure we kind of built that good foundation of these are normal things. We talk about these things. I'm here for questions, things like that. I would highly encourage you to set aside the time to work through the books together with them. Again, there is a girl's version and there's a boy version. And so maybe you would feel more comfortable if you have a son that he would work together with dad on the boys version. But just this level 1, the introduction to some of these things, I think is really valuable to do with a parent by their side. That way you can really walk them through, talk about things, and it just feels more normal and natural, I think, for both parties involved. I did do a little bit of a flip through and provided a little bit more information on the unit itself in this video. So if you're interested, check it out. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.